I'm all mic'd. Can you throw the...
Joan Quinn, a member of the California Arts Council and Beverly Hills Arts Commission, is the former West Coast editor of Andy Warhol's Interview magazine and society editor of the Herald Examiner. Her cover stories can be read in Venice and Detour magazines, and she is a contributing editor to California Apparel News. For the next half hour, Joan will bring you inside news and views on society, art, film, and the exhilarating worlds of these multifaceted people. Here is Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to Joan Quinn, Etc. Our guest is composer, director, writer, singer, Sam Harris. He's a multi-hyphenate, and he's so young at that. It's been hard for him to shake the fact that he was discovered on Star Search. I think it's been hard because every time I mention Sam's name, they say, Star Search, Star Search. Tell us about it, Sam.
Well, it was kind of a blessing and a curse, because it was a blessing in that I got the, attention of the nation and a lot of industry people and a lot of America, which opened up a lot of doors. But it was a curse in that because I was the first one, there was sort of a stigma attached to that. And everything has always been, there's always that reference to Star Search.
Was that actually the first show, the first time Star Search ever came on?
It was the first season. It was the first season, and it was really, I was on for a long time, for most of the season, I think like 16 weeks in total.
Oh, so every week you would come back and you would win.
So I was sort of the Star Search, the darling of Star Search, right? And it was great at the time. I think, although I'm very grateful it happened. It opened a lot of doors and, got me record contracts and things like that. It has a little bit of a schlocky reputation now, and so it's, I've had to kind of live with that and try to get past it. And I am, but it takes a while.
Well, the whole point is you're so talented with all these different things. Can we add actor to that hyphenate?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I didn't add actor.
No, yeah, actor's definitely in there.
Were you at UCLA when you started at Star Search?
No, I was at UCLA when I was 19, and I did Star Search when I was 22 or 23. But when I was at UCLA is when we first started working on this show, Hurry, Hurry, Hollywood, which is now being produced. And I was just a little tot, just a little babe in the woods, but I met this guy, Bruce Newberg, who was equally passionate about musicals. And we just hit it off, loved musical theater, loved musical movies, and wrote this thing called Hurry, Hurry, Hollywood. And we were so enthusiastic and so pushy that they produced it at school.
That was 12 years ago. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
And here's how you were then.
Haven't changed a bit, have I?
With Bruce.
That's right.
I guess.
Yeah. There we are.
And the musical was produced at the La Mirada Performing Arts Center.
That's right, and a really big success. The reviews were just sensational, and the audiences loved it, and we have a lot of offers and a lot of people flying out to see it and a lot of stuff going on. So we're hoping, and, well, not hoping, we know that it's going to have a future. We just don't know what that is yet.
Well, take us through step by step from this point of this picture of writing a musical and getting it actually on the stage. It was on the stage at UCLA, but really in a big production.
Well, I think the first thing is we didn't know that you couldn't write a musical over summer vacation, and so we did. And we just did it around the clock because we were so in love with the idea and the music and the ideas and that period. It's set in the 30s. And Bruce and I always felt we were born too late. I write the music by myself, and Bruce and I write the book and lyrics together. And creating it is the easy part. It's the fun part. It's the part that's easy to stay up all night for and have lots of Haagen-Dazs and do the work. 99% of the work is selling it and making the calls and doing the faxes and getting the readings. We got a lot of attention from the UCLA production, and then we did a series of backers auditions and stage readings and 5 million rewrites, losing characters, rewriting songs, and you learn to you might love something, but you learn that if it's not best for the show, then it goes.
How can you give it up? Because I know you were quoted as saying that this has been a series of rewrites.
Absolutely.
And I think you start out and you create a character or an idea, and then you, as you say, how do you know it's good for the show? When you first did it, you
Right.
thought it was good for the show. Now you're letting go.
Well, you have to let go, because if you're in love with your work more than you're in love with the idea of it being right, you can't win. And I think because we wrote it so long ago and we've been through this for so many years, I don't feel emotionally attached to anything. If it doesn't work, it goes. I directed the production at La Mirada, and so a lot of people were concerned with, oh my God, the writer, he's directing it, he'll never make the changes necessary because he'll love his work. But it's really been a fairly easy process to make the changes.
You called it an old-fashioned type of musical.
Yeah.
What do you know about being old-fashioned when you're so young? And the two of you did this when you were so young.
Well, you know, I think I first discovered, I knew I wanted to be in show business from about the time I can remember. And I was always fascinated with movie musicals and stage musicals. And I always had I was just in love with the great American book musical. The Gypsies, the South Pacifics, all of the great American musicals. And it truly is an American art form. And then in the 80s, in the late 70s and 80s, we started getting all these British imports. And yet, whenever there's a revival of something, people flock to see it. And Bruce and I really missed the new shows that were of the tradition of the American musical. And that's kind of why we wrote Hurry, Hurry, Hollywood. It's an American, I keep saying book because, where they do the dialogue and then they sing the song, and they do the dialogue and they sing the song.
Right.
It's not an operetta. It's not an innovative show in that there's no people in cat costumes. There's none of that's happening. It's fun. It's enjoyment, it's pure entertainment, a lot of tapping, a lot of song and dance, a lot of comedy, and it tugs at the heartstrings occasionally.
So you draw on all the old-fashioned situations or things that you've seen as a
and it's
child
not
growing up.
purposeful. It's not like, oh, I loved such and such in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I wondered.
It's just, it's integral, it's part of it. And if you look at all of the musicals that are our favorites, American musicals, they all have things in common. They all have a similar beat and structure, and
I think they do. You always go, oh, here comes the love song.
Right.
Or here's the duet.
It's just how you get there. You got to make interesting.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. But, I'm really proud of the music and the lyrics, and we have a few songs that, I'll tell you what the greatest testament to the work has been is how many people want copies of it to sing at their auditions or to sing for a television appearance and
You mean people in the business?
who have
interested.
heard it, seen it, people in the cast, people in the chorus who say, can I have that copy? And I think one of my favorite experiences was peeing at intermission and hearing somebody singing one of the songs at intermission.
So it stuck, didn't
and you think, oh my God, we really have something here.
Yeah, because if you can go away humming the
That's
tunes,
right.
that's what
and
you
the
want.
crew, when we're doing shift changes in rehearsal, the crew is always humming the songs and doing,
So that's, when you're writing a musical, is the final journey always Broadway or the West End in London, or what is in your mind? at
well,
that
I have to say
point?
it is. I mean, I want this show to be in New York because it's the apex. It's Broadway, and it's also the springboard for a long, long future. And I want to become very, very wealthy from this show. And so right now we're in the process of really going through all the offers and things that we have. We may be doing a tour first. We may take it straight to
I
New
see.
York with a couple of out-of-town things.
There's no set formula on how you get to Broadway.
No, I'm telling you, we have had, I'm guessing, 20 staged readings of this. We've done it at festivals. We've done it in people's living rooms. I've sung the score for producers in my living room while playing along. There's no way. It depends on the moment. It depends on the economy. It depends on the time. This show is set in the Depression, and it's a feel-good musical. Well, in the 80s, nobody cared because everybody already felt good,
So now.
And big musicals weren't happening, or they were British imports, and now the time is right, and people want that escapism and want to come and see a song and dance show.
You're not in it, but
No.
when you started, you were in it. You were a part of it. And with all those hyphenates, as an actor, singer, do you miss being in it?
Not at all.
Why not?
because directing this has been such an incredible experience for me to be able to see my vision come from the page and my head to the stage. And there's no way that I could have done that had I been in it. It's interesting because for a long time I've done shows where I've written it and sung and danced in it or acted in it or whatever. And I often get slandered by the critics because they say, oh, he's wearing too many hats, you know. They don't like that you do more than one thing. And that didn't happen this time. And I found it really ironic because acting is the easiest part. Being a role in the stage is the simplest job. One of the guys in the show, his father, one of the leads, his father got very ill and died during the run of the show, and I almost had to go on. And I went through a pickup rehearsal, and I thought, you know, this is a breeze. And it's funny that I didn't get any flack for writing it and directing it because I wasn't in their face, you know? And that was the easy part. I thought, gee, they should come and try to do this other thing, organizing 100 people and sets and costumes and everything else. That's the hard part.
Have you done much film work?
I haven't.
And why?
I don't know. I want to. I really can't say that I've gone after it, and I haven't really been pushed in that area. That's what I want ultimately for myself.
Have you done TV?
No, not a lot, no. I mean, just appearances, special appearances on things. But as I grow older, well, I've always considered myself an actor first anyway. And I want to do more and more of that. And I really see myself in film more than anything. For one thing, I'll tell you what, singing in concerts and touring is a nightmare. I love it, and it's always be a part of me, but you live like a prisoner, you know. Everything's humidified, and it can't be, you have to talk at this time, and you can't eat that, and you
have to worry about your well-being.
It's just a little muscle, and you always have to take care of it. So I really look forward more and more to acting in the theater and in film, and, you know, growing into that. That's what I'd love to be in 10 years, is doing mostly film.
Before we leave, we want to ask you what you think your ideal lifestyle would be if you had a chance to live it.
Well, I can say honestly that the fundamentals of my lifestyle are already present. I am surrounded by wonderful, great friends and family and truly remarkably talented, creative people. So I have the best of that world. But I want to be so powerful because I want the choices. I want to be able to say, I'm going to do a tour this year, I'm going to do a record next year, I'm going to do a Broadway show, I'm going to do a film. And so I hope that by having that kind of power and fame that I really have craved since I could breathe.
This is great.
Well, it's true. I'm not going to deny it. I've always known what I wanted. I want to be a star, and I want, you know. And as I get older, it's not just a star. I love directing, I love writing, I love creating. And I want to be able to have the choices. So I'm not always hawking everything. And it's, you know, I know it never stops no matter what level you get on. But I want to, when I'm in my 40s, be able to say, okay, this is my choice here. This is what I want to do now.
Okay, that's good. And we'll tag along on your behind you as you head to the top.
I hope so. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you for being with us. And we'll be back right after the break. Welcome back. I'm Joan Quinn, and I'm with actress Sandra Giles. You'll remember her from the John Wayne movies to Elvis Presley movies to The Last of the Red Hot Lovers and Ask Any Girl. She's been on television hundreds of times, and one of the times she was on television, or many of the times, Sandra was directed by Walter Grauman, who's a regular viewer of the Joan Quinn show.
Oh,
yes.
He's so nice.
Tell us some of his techniques, because you have worked with him quite a bit.
Yes. Well, he's very definite in what he wants, and he's kind, and he works very quickly. Oh. He's done so much television. I mean, unbelievable.
Is that helpful to an actress when you're working?
Yes, when he knows what he wants, he tells you, and then you try to do it.
You've done a lot of stage work. I was surprised at on your bio, the list of things you've done.
Yes, the most fun one was The Odd Couple we were talking about with Mickey Rooney and Tony Randall.
I was going to ask you about that. I bet you have some great stories.
Yes, we won't tell them all.
Let's hear a couple of them, though.
Well, but they had the poker playing fellows were Sugar Ray Robinson and Buddy Lester, the comedian, Arnold Stang, and these are the fellows playing cards. And one time, Tony is so sweet, and his wife, and one time I didn't get my feet away out of Tony's way quick enough. So as he came back, he kind of stepped on my foot. And so afterwards, I was just crying, and so his wife said, "You must apologize to Sandra," which he did. They're both so wonderful actors. I mean,
is it hard going from stage to film to stage, or did you just do stage at one period and film at one period?
Well, I really started out in stage, and then I started doing a little television. Well, actually, the first big thing I did, I was starred in a picture called Daddy-O.
Oh, yeah, we have this here. Who was in it with you?
Dick Contino.
Who was a great singer and accordion
Accordionist,
player.
right.
And when was this, in the 50s?
Yes, 60s, right.
60s.
And so I was actually signed to do 10 pictures by Elmer Roden Jr., and we did this one picture, and then a television pilot. I played a cab girl, and then he passed away.
Oh, so what happened to the rest of your 10 pictures?
Well, I had to do with other people. But
you stayed, the contract was valid, and you stayed with the studio?
I got the money, but the pictures were really more important, because when you first start and someone discovers you, once you're discovered, then other people don't want to really discover you. So it made it a little harder, where if I'd done those 10 pictures and stayed with the one producer, like when you used to be with the studios, you know, it would have been better. But then you had to go out and do it on your own.
So then you did start doing it on your own, and you did work in a lot of television.
McClintock, I did a movie with McClintock with John Wayne, and several pictures with Ask Any Girl. Then I did the Elvis Presley picture.
But then those were films. Then you went into TV.
Yes.
And I think we have a clip from something on TV.
Yes, a movie of the week with two big stars now, Ray Liotta, who was in Goodfellas, and Michael Pare, who's been doing many pictures.
And at that time they weren't so...
No, they just started.
Good.
And also I think David Caruso was the redhead in it.
So are we going to see that now?
Yes.
Good. Let's watch Sandra Giles.
Hey, you want a pop? We'll go for it. Can we afford it?
All right.
Yeah, we could afford it if it's a beer.
Hey, maybe I drink beer.
So what about your husband?
Tonight he's a friend, like your friends.
No, not like my friends.
I studied you on the street. You're David, out of Michelangelo.
I don't know no David or Mike Angelo. Got a St. Angelo's in Rockaway. It's a church.
I'm not looking for any saint.
Yeah? What are you looking for?
My own Michelangelo statue, like the Pope has.
I'm Protestant.
Well, I'm going to convert you, Harry.
Wow. Were you always a seductress in all of these things?
Well, it started out that way, and it looks like it's still happening.
It still is.
But when I do stage, I do other things.
You were saying that this Life magazine,
Was about the same time as this.
and what was this layout about?
Well, the blonde from Hooker, How to Become a Movie Star, and they have me surrounded by Lana Turner, Jane Russell, Jane Mansfield, and they just talk about a new girl in town and how she's becoming a movie star.
You were the new girl in town.
Right.
I'm going to turn the page because it shows something that it is so identified with the lifestyle of California, the car.
Yes, the fur car, pink mink.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, there was a teacher's pet premiere, and I was Miss Press Club at the time, and they wanted me to be the hostess. And so my press agent, Shelley Davis, said, well, you know, we should have something really great. So I said, well, what about a fur car? And he said, that's a great idea. So we got Mr. Barish to put it on.
Ah.
And then I drove up to the Teacher's Pet premiere in it, and it really was something.
Pink fur car and
Yes.
a beautiful blonde. Must have made some impression, because it seems like that's what Angeline is trying to do now.
Yes, yes, yes. It sort of stole the premiere. You know, that was a cute movie with Clark Gable, Teacher's Pet. And after that, you know, I'd be driving down the street in it, and one time I remember this fellow was walking down the, driving down the street, and he looked over like this, and he looked back to the road, and he looked back, and he hit the next car.
Oh, he did? Did you drive it a lot?
Oh, for about a year.
Oh, you did?
And then I sold it to a rich Texan, and he took it back to Texas.
Oh, so it really wasn't just a publicity stunt. It was something you kept for a long...
Yes.
How'd you keep it clean?
Someone, they used to ask
can't
me,
answer that.
I know. They used to ask me, what do you do when it rains?
Yeah.
I said, I roll up the windows.
But furs are used to being outside,
Yes.
so it's okay. When you were making your transitions we talked about being the beautiful blonde, when you were making your transitions into TV and the stage, were you always aware that you had to be something a little bit more? I mean, we always thought of like blonde and beautiful and the hit of everything. I mean, was that hard on you?
Well, I didn't know anything about the movies and television in Texas and in Oklahoma. I was born, but I was raised in Texas. And so when I arrived in California, my parents had moved from California, from Texas, and I couldn't find them. I wrote a letter, and it came to California, and they were here. So thank God they left a forwarding address, right?
You would have been gone.
You heard those jokes. And so I came here, and it really was something that happened accidentally. I just started getting my pictures taken at parties, and I liked people. I was friendly, and the photographers liked me, and so they started taking my pictures.
So you hadn't really taken acting lessons or decided you were going to be an actress?
Right, I didn't know anything about it. And then I started getting offers. I did a show with Jackie Cooper called, where they had the little dog. Remember the talking dog? Mm-hmm. And I played a blonde reporter trying to get a story. And I had tried to get rid of my southern accent. And so right at the end, I said, compounds.
And it came out?
And so it was just trial and error. And I started studying, and I studied quite a few years with Richard Brander.
I was going to say, on your bio, you studied with Corey Allen and
Right.
Some very good teachers then.
In fact, Richard Brander Kevin Costner studied with him a couple of years. And I studied with Kevin.
And you became very integrated into the Hollywood scene. You've done a lot of charity work, I know.
Yes, I just finished an AIDS and cancer charity down at the Shark Club downtown, and I sent out 6,000 invitations.
And you just keep raising money for wonderful things. You also play tennis.
Oh yes, I love that. I haven't played a lot in the last year, but I used to go on all the celebrity tennis tournaments, and I think I was number 4 in the ladies.
And you have a lot of trophies, I know. 100 trophies or so.
I was number 1 at Mulholland once.
Were you? But that's really wonderful to play and keep active and then to make money for charity.
Yes.
I think that's great.
Well, now, you know, as I told you, I was into dancing.
Yes,
And
I was
so
going to ask you about that.
I don't play as much tennis. I'm more into...
But you're doing some time, you're a promoter,
Right.
let's say, and
Right.
you're promoting a series of dance clubs called Dancers and Romancers.
One time I was doing a yacht party, and they had to be a club, so I said, well, make it the Dancers and Romancers.
Oh, that's how you came up with it?
I started at Pips about 14 years ago. I was a member, and there was no people there during the week. And so I said, why don't I put on this little show for you, and our members will come back. So you couldn't get in on Monday nights.
Did you actually dance, or did you get dancers to come in?
I got dancers to come in, but then at the end of the show, whoever's in the audience that wants to get up and dance, swing with me.
Oh, you do that?
Uh-huh.
Did you have to keep in training for something like that?
No, for tennis you do, but not for dancing.
So that sounds really good.
It's a lot of fun.
And you keep in contact with all of your friends?
Yes, when I was at a place called Highs for about 4.5 years, we had Milton Berle come a lot. Don Knotts came to watch the show and have dinner, Connie Stevens, and people I've just known for years.
So they just kind of like follow you?
Yeah,
and,
well,
and they know what you're doing?
Yes, we keep in contact, and I helped Connie with Wind Feather, her charity,
Oh, that was great.
for a while.
That's really nice. We're going to finish our talk time right now, but before we go, what would be your ideal lifestyle?
Well, just I love tennis and dancing, and I'm a night person, and so I'd say dancing and tennis and studying. I still take courses over here at the college.
Do you?
Mhm.
Well, that'll keep
At
you.
night school. I like that. And I'm opening a new club called Touche in the Marina soon, this coming Sunday. And it's a hot new club. They have bands every week. So I'm doing a Sunday night there. That's going to be a lot of fun.
So you've created a new lifestyle for Sandra Giles, and we're going to tell you more about it the next time we talk about Sandra. Thanks for being with us on Joan Quinn, etc., and we'll see you next time.